Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, a mom on the run from the law.
There's bounty hunters, police, looking for me.
Charged with the attempted murder of her ex.
With detectives and bail bondsmen in hot pursuit, she somehow made her way to the show today. Right now, you are a fugitive. Are you justified to break into someone's house with a hammer and start swinging?
The exclusive interview.
Was I mentally stable? I was not.
The confession.
I felt if I had killed him, that would have been protecting her.
The surprise confrontation.
Your ex-husband is on the phone.
I hope she goes to jail.
Will she turn herself in?
You need to stop running. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
I hate to see people suffering, and you've hurt long enough.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
I'm going to get you the help that you need.
In 5, 4.
This is going to be a changing day in your life. This is Marie. She's divorced and appears to be a loving, caring mother of 4 children who is close with her family. Sounds like a typical all-American mom, right? But everything is not as it seems, because there is a small difference here. This mother is currently a fugitive on the run and has been for the past 2 months. She's facing charges of first-degree criminal, attempted murder, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and criminal mischief after she broke into her ex-husband's home and attempted to hit him with a hammer. Now, she says she missed, but she ended up hitting his new wife and injuring her. Here's Marie's version of what happened the day she says she snapped.
My name's Marie. I am the mother of 4 children. I am wanted for attempted murder. When my husband and I divorced, it was a very hostile co-parenting relationship with my daughter after the divorce. My daughter made me very concerned that she could have been sexually abused by her father. I had fought for her for 5 years and nobody listened, and I couldn't afford to go to trial, and I was at my end. I drove to my ex-husband's house. There was a hammer in the back seat, and I picked up the hammer and I walked around to the side of the house. I walked up to the door about 15 different times, and I could see my daughter's bedroom. I had the hammer in my hand, and I prayed to God what to do. I kind of asked God and said, okay, God, if I swing this hammer out this window and it breaks, that's my sign. I hit the window, it broke. It just shattered, basically, and I put my head down, I walked through. I walked through up to my daughter's bedroom, and I looked at her. It was the last time I saw her. And I went downstairs, and I heard her dad say something. We went to her father's room, and I could see his figure, and I went towards him and swung the hammer at him. He jumped and hid behind his wife. So I was then swinging sideways. I was hitting her because he was hiding behind her. I wanted to kill him. I think the only thing that stopped me from swinging was the fact that I was hitting his wife, because that wasn't who my intention was to hurt. When I stopped swinging, he jumped out from behind her and tackled me and held me down on the ground until the police got there. I was initially charged with burglary, trespassing, breaking and entering, and aggravated assault. Right now, I'm on the run.
Well, Marie says she spent nearly a month behind bars for the attack on her husband before being released and resuming her normal life. But then there was a shocking update.
4 weeks ago, it came out in the paper that I was actually indicted on attempted murder. I made a few phone calls and found out that my bail was revoked and that I was going to go back to jail. And that was about 2 weeks before my grandson was due to be born. I wanted to be there for my daughter and for my grandson, so when I had to go in for my indictment, I didn't go. I didn't turn myself in. Now I'm on the run. There's bounty hunters, private investigators, sheriffs, police looking for me. Banging down everybody's door that I know. They make comments. If I put something on my Facebook, they'll start texting me. They're kind of scary, actually. I get creepy messages. This is voicemails of people who went to my daughter's house, said they were looking for me.
Hi, Maria. I know what you look like. I've been hired to find you. Talk to you soon.
I shook probably for the rest of the night because I'm like, okay, is someone going to kill me? It hurts my older kids. People knocking at the door. I think the embarrassment of their mother being wanted. I think the focus for over a year now isn't the fact that mommy fights and tries so hard to protect our little sister. It's about mommy's a criminal, mommy's wanted for attempted murder. I know what I did. I can't blame anybody but myself, but I felt I was pushed to my breaking point.
Well, you're probably wondering why Marie, a fugitive from justice, would want to make a pit stop at the Dr. Phil show while on the run. Well, here's her video diary.
I'm Marie. I am wanted for attempted murder. I came to Dr. Phil to help me to get my story told. I've made it out to California. I'm here to talk to Dr. Phil.
I have no problems getting on the stage by myself and standing alone, because I will stand alone for the right thing.
Okay, so let me be clear here. You think that you are doing the right thing,
Yes,
but right now you are a fugitive.
correct.
You say there are bounty hunters looking for you. There are police looking for you. There are every manner of law enforcement is looking for you, and you've been on the run.
Yes.
Everybody's wondering what it is that you are righteous about, and you were concerned that after a prolonged and bitter custody dispute, that things were going on that you were uncomfortable with, and you have made numerous allegations about your ex over the years to professionals and CPS, the courts, anyone who would listen.
Correct.
And you talked about violations against you and your daughter. Mm-hmm. Why has nobody substantiated any of your claims? Why has nobody believed you?
I don't know. I wasn't really sure why, but after our divorce, my daughter was about 3 years old, came home to me and was telling me that her father molested her. I notified her counselor, and they notified child services, they notified the police, and they got her from him that evening and brought her right back to me. They did some investigation and found no trauma to the area.
So you decide that something really wrong is happening here. Why do you not call the police? Why do you not file a police report? Why did you not call the law?
The 20 to 25 times that she's told me in detail of the molestation, I did call CPS and or the police and or took her to the emergency room each and every time. The very first disclosure to me was in a parking lot in the middle of an exchange of me giving her to her father. I got back in the car. I had someone with me that heard her say that. And I was just in shock and in awe. And I just said, was that what I think it was? And she said, yeah. I had her counselor's number on speed dial, and I picked it up. And I said, you know, we've been working with her. This is what she just said to me. She's like, I'm getting CPS on the phone right now, child services. Right. And I drove, and she said, go directly to the police.
Okay. Well, as we said, CPS was involved. Mm-hmm. And a finding did come from CPS. We'll talk about what that is when we come back.
I felt as if I had killed him, that would have been protecting her from being molested any longer.
You say that your ex-husband has violated your daughter. He is on the phone. Carson, are you there? And later, yes, the medicals were resolved. Yes, the therapist was consulted. And yes, a decision was reached. So you make these claims, but then when you look at the records, that's just simply not the case.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. She grew up in what some call a cult.
I experienced sexual violation.
In a Dr. Phil exclusive,
My father had 25 children. We were his secret in the basement.
a former sect member speaks out.
I was married to the prophet of the FLDS people.
This 85-year-old man who has 64 other wives. How does a father marry his daughter off to the crypt keeper?
Tomorrow. Then on Friday, has her husband's secret life
Are you telling the truth?
No, I'm not.
put their family in danger?
We're lucky the police didn't come knock on our doors.
Oh, this isn't over.
That's Friday.
I don't feel like I live on the run looking over my shoulder. I don't live scared. There's always somebody smarter than you are. I worked as a police officer for a while. I dated someone who was at a private eye years ago. I have somewhat knowledge and a little bit of street smarts that it's not real difficult.
Well, that was Marie, and she is a wanted woman. She is a fugitive on the run for the past 2 months and facing up to 45 years behind bars for attempted murder after breaking into her ex-husband's home and attacking with a hammer. She missed him, but she hit his new wife in the shoulder collarbone area. With detectives and bail bondsmen in hot pursuit, she somehow made her way to the show today with only one goal in mind: to tell what she believes is the truth behind the violent crime that she committed. Okay, tell me this. Yes. I watched the tape piece at the top of the show where you were describing what happened. You said you stood in front of the window with a hammer and you said, God, give me a sign. If I shatter this window with this hammer, then I'll know that God is with me here.
That's probably the craziest thing to come out of my mouth because I was crazy at that point. I had been driven to, he had now had her for 4 years. They said I was delusional. I went through 2.5 years of psychotherapy. And the therapist, after so many years, is just like, Marie, you're not delusional.
Okay, but wait a minute. You know that what you did was wrong, right?
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, in what alternate universe does it make sense, or are you justified to take a hammer, break into someone's house?
It was our old marital home. I could have walked through it blindfolded.
Not relevant. So
yes.
You wind up in your old bedroom then, with a hammer and start swinging.
Yes.
And you said at the end of the tape, I wanted him dead.
Yes.
But yet you say you're thinking properly, that people should believe you. That
That night I was not. I felt as if I had killed him, that would have been protecting her from being molested any longer.
You say that your ex-husband has violated your daughter. He is on the phone. Carson, are you there?
I'm here, Dr. Phil.
You've been listening to the show. What do you have to add to this conversation?
Well, I'd first like to say, first off, I love my daughter dearly. I would never, ever, ever, ever touch that child in an appropriate way. She's everything to me.
Is it possible? There clearly has been angst between the two of you. This got way out of hand when you take a hammer and go in and say, I wanted him dead.
A year ago, I walked into his house and I wanted him dead after the last 8 years.
How about today?
How about today?
Yeah.
Do I want him dead today? No. No. At that moment, I did.
Dr. Phil, as of 2 nights ago, she was posting stuff on Facebook about me and my wife.
What did she put on Facebook?
I called him a child molester.
She posted a picture of me and my wife. She put on there that I was a child molester. She posted court documents.
I said, take a lie detector test.
And this is the stuff I'm referring to. This young lady doesn't know when to stop. She says that she's going to post my picture of how I'm a child molester within a 10-mile radius of where I live, in the Kmarts, in the grocery stores. She just doesn't know when to stop.
She doesn't call me mommy anymore after 2.5 years of not having her with me and having supervised visits. I felt as if I did everything right. I went back to the courts and kept appealing everything. And they said, okay, we'll reevaluate the whole thing. We'll do a forensic psychiatric report. We'll do a parental capacity evaluation. It cost over about $30,000, so I paid for all of that. I took it all to the judge for an emergency hearing to say the reports came back and it is most likely that he is molesting my daughter. Here are my reports from my psychotherapy that says I'm not delusional, and I wanted her back in my custody. The judge said no.
Okay, now, wait a minute. You went and hired an expert.
Yes, I did.
And told them your side of the story. They did not interview anyone else, correct?
No. That's not true.
Did they interview anyone else?
Yes, they
did. Did they interview your husband?
Yes, they did.
They talked to him and went through all of the CPS, went through everything.
Yes, they did.
Because that's not reflected in that report, because I've read that report.
The parental capacity evaluation is where they spoke to everyone. The forensic psychiatric report, he spoke to no one. He just gathered all the information. He was a...
And that's the one that says that you are not delusional and that you are fine.
Yes, after he went through all of the paperwork.
Okay, and I'm telling you, anyone that would say, this woman is thinking right and behaving well and there's just no problem here, is an absolute puzzle to me. That is an absolute puzzle to me.
Well, that was all up before I...
Because that person, man or
window.
woman, whoever it was that did that evaluation, that didn't talk to anyone else involved but just did a paper chase, didn't exactly call it right, did they? Because you wound up attempting to murder
Correct.
your husband.
I did.
So they kind of missed that one, didn't they?
I don't feel as if I was at that point. I think people can not be crazy and live their life, and something traumatic happened in their life and someone snapped. And that happened that day to me.
You make these claims, but then when you look at the records, that's just simply not the case. So now, this person that you tried to kill with a hammer has complete custody of your daughter. And later...
Was I mentally stable when I went to that sliding glass door? I was not. I went to the judges. I went to everyone. I did everything they said.
Has it occurred to you that you are wrong? You've all heard me talk about Doctor on Demand, the exciting new app that my son Jay and I created that allows you within seconds to visit face-to-face with a board-certified doctor using your smartphone. Now, usually our Doctor on Demand visits cost just $40, about the cost of a copay. But we have been tracking the cold and flu outbreaks, and since Jay and I own the company, we get to make the decisions and have decided that from now until February 28th, all Doctor on Demand calls are free, instant and free. Download the Doctor on Demand app from iTunes App Store or Google Play and talk to a doctor now. And yes, it's free until February 28th. You wrote a letter. You've complained that people aren't taking you seriously and not doing their work.
Correct.
And you wrote a letter to a senator.
I did.
Correct? Senator Haynes.
Senator, governor, they said that they looked into my case.
Right. Yes, they did. Because this is a response regarding your letter to Senator Haynes. You wrote them a letter, and in that, you stated that you do not feel that DYFS, which is the name of the agency in your state, or the detective from the prosecutor's office completed a thorough investigation into the matter. They said, but now, look, there's a protocol. that DYFS and law enforcement must follow when interviewing. And it appears that this protocol was followed. So they got your letter of complaint, and they said that it was followed. It says you also reported that the caseworker did not follow up when the behavioral assistant, you went on there, they said the caseworker's responsibility to make sure these sensitive issues are addressed. As a result, when the caseworker heard these concerns, she asked the therapist to address them. So they did respond to them. You further reported that you were concerned that the caseworker did not request reports from Value Options. The caseworker has in fact requested reports from the agency that provided the services. Those reports are filed in the case record. They were reviewed by the administrative staff, and that they relied on the doctors of this organization to make the decision as to whether the child needs to have such an evaluation because it's intrusive, and they said they did not feel that the child even needed the evaluation. So you say that these people didn't do their job, but then they answer you back and say, yes, the reports were requested, they are in the file, yes, the medicals were resolved, yes, the therapist was consulted, and yes, a decision was reached. So you make these claims, but then when you look at the records, that's just simply not the case.
When I spoke to Child Services, I said that the counseling that my daughter was going through, she said to me she felt she was sexually preoccupied and that maybe she should have a psychosexual evaluation. Mm-hmm. And I was discussing these with the caseworker, and she didn't know who that was, and I kept... A lot of the records that were given back and forth was because I drove over to Value Options. I picked them up. I brought them over to Child Services. I went and picked up police reports and brought them back over to NJ Cares because they said he wasn't abusive, but yet there was a 3-inch stack of police reports of violent incidences that had happened through our marriage.
Well, in fact, in November of 2009, CPS evaluated you because the courts were concerned that the court was concerned that you were, quote, manipulating professionals.
Correct.
And that you had a psychological evaluation that states that you had a possible borderline personality disorder, which involves a pattern of manipulation and deceit. And there was a CPS finding, but the finding was substantiated against you for neglect.
Yes.
My point to you here is that in all the allegations that you've made, there have been medical examinations.
Yes.
And there was nothing found, either acute or chronic.
There was no findings of any trauma when they
Correct.
took her to one of the facilities, NJ Cares, and they took photographs
Either
of the
acute
area.
nor chronic, either one.
No.
Okay.
And
there was an investigation done by CPS. It was unsubstantiated.
correct.
The court has ordered evaluations and examinations. You asked for an emergency hearing. They did
Right,
not
that's what I
grant
did.
the emergency hearing.
They said no.
They just said no.
Correct.
So now, this person that you tried to kill with a hammer has complete custody of your daughter.
He does.
Would you think that somewhere in all of this there would be some objective finding somewhere?
DYFS gave custody to him and just closed the case. They said, okay, you're delusional, sorry. You know, if I was a drug addict or an alcoholic, they would have, you know, put me through rehab. Now in my youngest child, I'm showing all of these signs as being an unstable parent that I didn't show with my older children that are all raised and out of the home now. Why with this one? And the psychotherapist and I worked together for 2.5 years, and he did everything and wrote the letters to the
Well, there are
courts.
a lot of answers that could come up to that question, but would you agree that you're saying, look, I worked myself up to being a paragon of health where I'm not unstable, I'm not an issue, but yet it's just been how long since you broke in and attacked your ex-husband with a hammer?
A year ago now.
So that's pretty contemporary, right?
They took her from me 4 years ago.
And 3 years later at 1 o'clock one morning, you decide the right thing to do is break into a house and try to kill your husband with a hammer.
For keeping my daughter from me all that time.
Does that seem like poor judgment?
It was very poor judgment
Does
on my
that
part
seem
that
like
night.
irrational behavior?
I was very irrational behavior that night.
Okay, so you've demonstrated poor judgment and irrational behavior.
Yes, I did.
Those are not the traits and characteristics that you look for in a parent, right?
Correct.
All right, we have to take a break. Look, Marie's brother is here. He says, look, it is time for her to stop running. I want to talk about all of that. What happens now? This woman is a fugitive from justice. There are warrants out for her arrest. There are bounty hunters on her trail. We'll be right back.
If my sister gets caught, the bonds get forfeited. That's well over $60,000 that the family is on the line for. I don't know how to get my sister to stop from running. To kind of hang my head in shame because my sister's a fugitive.
And later,
You know, the night she broke into my house with a hammer, I laid on top of her and I held her until the police came. If I was such an abusive person, you wouldn't have walked out of my house.
My sister Marie is her own worst enemy. Likes to play the tough girl act. All this legal trouble has really affected me and my family because we have detectives showing up at our door. When they showed up that first time, it scared my wife to death. We're scared to have her come over. We're scared to get in touch with her. Fear of that we're going to have the SWAT team show up right behind her and carry her away. And they might even carry us away with her because we might be aiding and abetting her. To kind of hang my head in shame because my sister's a fugitive. I have texted to her that what she's doing is put our parents at risk because she's on the run. If my sister gets caught, the bonds get forfeited. That's well over $60,000 that the family is on the line for. My brother-in-law has a chance of losing his house. My parents definitely will lose everything. It's a total nightmare if she were to get caught. I don't know how to get my sister to stop from running. She's very concerned and she feels cornered as a mother to be able to protect her daughter. I don't know if there is going to be any way to get through to her. Thinking about what's going on and what's happening to us as a family. I'm just beyond frustrated with what's been going on. I'm really disappointed that it's come to this.
well, your brother Phil is here. Phil, thank you for being here. What do you think about what he has to say?
I know I'm hurting my family. And I promised them when my grandson was born that when he came home from the hospital and he was home healthy that I was going to turn myself in. I feel like I'm trying to fulfill the promises that I made to the family.
Phil, how do you feel about this? I mean, you're basically saying that what she's doing, A, could bankrupt the family, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we have a chance. My brother-in-law can lose his house. My parents could lose their house and everything that they have.
Right. And you've had people follow, do they follow you or do they follow your parents? They wound up at your parents' house, right?
They're hanging around my parents' development. My parents are afraid. They're almost become shut-ins because they're afraid that someone's going to follow them.
Marie's eldest daughter, Brianna, is on the phone and says her mother has a lot of issues and is running away from her troubles. Brianna, what do you think about what's going on and what do you want to see her do?
I honestly would like to see her, turn herself in and get everything straightened out because I feel like running is only making things worse. I just want her to, get the help that she needs and be able to straighten everything out because I just had a baby and I would like her to be able to not spend the rest of her life in jail. I would like her to be a part of his life.
What do you think about what Brianna's saying?
I know all of this. I wanted to take those reports that were collecting dust and have someone look at the forensic psychiatric report and the parental capacity evaluations, the things that I took to the judge and he denied me after paying all $30,000 and losing my home and my car and everything and becoming homeless to pay for these reports, to turn around and be denied, I gave up. And I hung up the phone. I was sitting outside of my visit for my daughter that night. I went in and had my hour visit. She doesn't call me mommy anymore. Her stepmom came into the visit and ripped her out of my arms. And I really couldn't tell you, after she left, what I did. Till about 1 o'clock in the morning, drive around, cried, and gave up the fact that I have reports that in their recommendations were that my child be back with me. And last year, that night, was I mentally stable when I went to that sliding glass door? I was not. I was homeless. I spent every last dime. I went to the judges. I went to everyone. I did everything they said.
Has it occurred to you that you are wrong?
No.
She has medical examinations. She has forensic examinations. And based on those interviews, there was no indication whatsoever that this child has been touched inappropriately in this way by anyone. Not you, not him, not anybody else.
Something has happened that this child has told me 20 to 25 different times, different ways that she was touched. She's not the only child I've raised.
And you're not the only one that she said that to.
No.
Well, that is sort of true. There are others that have overheard some of these comments, Brianna being one of them. And I've read an affidavit from another woman. But these are things that can be coached. But I can tell you that a structured forensic interview with a child is designed to sift through coaching and get to reality. And I've read the transcripts of those interviews. And I came away believing that there was no indication whatsoever that there was a basis for that. Her ex-husband, he is on the phone.
If you love that child, you would have been there for her. And you know what? You're right. She doesn't call you mommy. You know why? Because you haven't been her mommy. Marie, what have you done to your daughter?
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. Her father gave her to the FLDS prophet.
This 85-year-old man who has 64 other wives. How does a father marry his daughter off to the crypt keeper?
That's tomorrow.
I don't want my children to live with a mother on the run. Me fighting for my youngest daughter for the last 5 years took away from me being a better mother to my older children. And that haunts me. I tell my kids every day, I would do the same thing for you.
That was Marie, a mother of 4, and she's wanted on charges of attempted murder stemming from an attack on her ex-husband and his wife. He is on the phone. Carson, go ahead.
We've been in this for 8 years now. She's had every opportunity to step up as a mother. The courts have given her ample opportunity, and she never, ever stepped up to the plate. How long have you been out of jail now? You haven't even reached out to see your own child. You know, as a father, you couldn't keep me from seeing my daughter. If you loved that child, you would have been there for her. And you know what? You're right. She doesn't call you mommy. You know why? Because you haven't been her mommy. You know that what you've done is a lie. How is it a child goes to school and says to a teacher, will you help me help my mommy because my mommy is telling me to say this? Wow, that is huge. That's strong. A child her age having to reach out to a teacher like that and ask for help? Marie, what have you done to your daughter?
Let me ask you straight up, Carson. You said it at the beginning, but I want to ask it straight up so it's very clear. have you at any time ever been inappropriate with your daughter physically, emotionally, verbally, in any way? Have you been inappropriate with this child?
Absolutely not, Dr. Phil. I love my daughter. I have an older daughter. I love her. I have a stepdaughter and a stepson, and I love them. And I would never, ever, never, ever.
Have you cooperated fully with investigations with the court and with Child Protective Services?
I absolutely have, to the fullest extent.
You've been out of jail for how long now?
March, I came out of jail.
Why have you not reached out to see your daughter?
While I was in jail, he placed a restraining order against me.
Have you blocked her and her family from contact with your daughter?
I absolutely have. That doesn't mean that she cannot go to court and request to see her child. Dr. Phil, at the time, we had to do all we could to shelter this child. Marie was doing a lot of things. You know, the night she broke into my house with a hammer, I laid on top of her and I held her until the police came. If I was such an abusive person, you wouldn't have walked out of my house.
What do you hope for her going forward?
I hope she goes to jail.
He told the police that he has documentation that he could take her for a vacation for 3 weeks. I went every day to try to get my daughter back for 3 weeks. The police called the courts. It was not in any records where he said he went in front of them and to just keep them.
How much is enough for you? If he took a polygraph test, I mean, a real, genuine polygraph test,
Yes.
and passed that, would you
Yes,
stop?
I would. What is the only thing I've asked for 5 years? Prove me wrong that you're not molesting her. Tell me what my daughter said to me is not true. I hope it's not true. And what broke me that day was when I got the reports that he's most likely molesting her than it is that I'm delusional.
If he takes a lie detector test, you are on public record right now today in front of everyone saying you will stop this and you will stop harassing him and his wife.
Absolutely.
Carson, will you do that?
Yes, I'll take a lie detector.
I will make those arrangements. We will pay for it. We will do it.
Can I take one, too, that I wasn't coaching her? Or do you feel as if...
If you would like to, certainly. If you would like to, then certainly. But I want this stopped because I hope that the day will come where there can be some type of relationship between you and your daughter. I mean, that's my goal, is that there would be some type of relationship between you and your daughter. And that can't happen if he was to ask me right now if I would recommend you having an ongoing relationship with your daughter, I would have to say no, because you are showing erratic and irrational behavior.
Absolutely.
And so that it would not be something that I would feel comfortable in recommending.
I agree with
I
you.
hope that we can find a way back to that. And so I'm glad for that. Carson, I appreciate your willingness to do that. I thank you very much, and I thank you for talking about all of this. We're going to take a break. Will Marie finally stop running from the law and turn herself in to authorities? We'll be right back.
It's been a really hard couple of years for our family, especially for Marie. I think it would be best for my sister and for her daughter, and even for the rest of the family, if she were to turn herself in.
I wanted to turn myself in. I wrote Dr. Phil. I asked him to help me. I want to go on the show because I want someone to look at all of the reports and come to the conclusion of whether my daughter is going to be left in a safe home or not.
Marie says she is a mother who is on the run from authorities after she says she snapped and attempted to hit her ex-husband with a hammer for a crime that she believes to this day that he committed, even though documents she submitted to the show from different agencies and courts and investigators do not substantiate any of those claims that she believes are true. Sonny Hostin, former assistant U.S. attorney and CNN legal analyst and a friend of the show, says Marie has opened up a whole new can of worms by going on the run. She says things aren't going to get any better for Marie until she turns herself in. Sonny, you've been following this. What does she need to do, and what happens if she doesn't?
You know, I think there's no question, Dr. Phil, that she does certainly need to turn herself in. And so my suggestion to you, Marie, is deal with this situation so that you one day perhaps can go back to being a mother. You know, if there is some sort of mental issue going on, or if there was that break that you're talking about, then there really is an opportunity for a defense to these charges, perhaps diminished capacity. But you know, you're looking at attempted first-degree murder. I mean, could be a 30-year sentence, Marie. So this is serious, serious business. And as a former prosecutor, I'm telling you, if I've got these facts in front of me, the fact that you are running, I'm going to use that against you. Evidence of flight, no question about it, can be used as proof of guilt. So do the right thing. Try to get back to your daughter and turn yourself in. That is really, I think at this point, your only option.
If you want to protect your child, you need to stop running. Mm-hmm. You need to step up and be accountable.
That's why I'm here.
I clearly think you have a defense here. I really don't think people are going to think you're just some rabid, wild-eyed murderer. But I do think that you need to get this under control first.
Absolutely.
And then you need to get yourself back to a position of being able to be a rational, stable alternative in your daughter's life. And I will help you do that if you will agree to deal with the legal ramifications here. I have standing backstage, if you want, investigators from the U.S. Marshals Task Force. Stop justifying your inactivity and avoiding the challenge of change. For help getting started, go to drphil.com for 11 seasons of advice, articles, and exclusive videos you won't find anywhere else. Plus, sign up for the Dr. Phil community to share your story and find support from others, all on drphil.com. You said that you wanted to tell me this story, get me involved in it, and then you would surrender.
Correct.
Correct? And I have standing backstage, if you want, investigators from the U.S. Marshals Task Force, the Bureau of Investigation, provided by the DA's office, that will help you do this in a way that protects the family, and you're doing it voluntarily instead of getting caught. And
Correct.
Sonny, that helps, does it not?
Oh, it is so significant that she cooperate with authorities at this point and turn herself in. These charges are so significant. If you continue to run and you get caught, I guarantee you that it will be used against you.
We've made arrangements for you to surrender, which takes your family out of harm's way and financial harm's way, and according to Sonny, puts you in the best possible light.
Correct.
In getting this moving forward. So I think you've accomplished a lot of things by being here today.
Well, thank you.
Sonny, thank you for all you do for us. We really appreciate it. More information, go to drphil.com. Thanks so much. All right, sit tight right here. Thanks, guys.